hands. What? What? I almost tweeted about the Deft interview because it's ridiculous. He blames the Draven pick. I'm just sitting there wondering, why the fuck do you have Thresh? Why do you have Lee Sin in the jungle? You think that just because fucking Pioshik randomly got 3 kills, that somehow omits his fucking atrocious champion pick? You voluntarily picked Thresh into Senatom Kench and you expect that you're gonna do anything in bot lane without your jungler's help? Yeah, it's really Draven's fault. It's really Draven's fault. So when you go backstage after the game and you get blamed for playing poorly on Draven and your inability to farm in CS and actually take any trades, you blame it on yourself rather than fucking saying to your coaching staff or to your teammates, I have a goddamn Thresh as my fucking support. What do you want me to do? No, Draven's not the problem. The Thresh is the problem. What the hell? What? Alright, so let's talk about my tweet here. Okay. Shit. Alright. So I made a tweet yesterday. I said, the salaries are too high relative to everything that comes from them. Orgs need proper people to execute litmus tests and develop proper structure and practice, among other things. Import slots also need to be utilized properly. Dropping import slot on wildcard would probably help a ton too. And I said the amount of things plaguing NA from the foundation up is alarming. Horror stories that exist behind the scenes, like players refusing to scrim Academy because it'll make the Academy player better and risk their job security, have to go. Lack of care about so much, legit insanity. So there was a lot of comments in response to this. I just realized that some of the org people that replied seemingly have deleted their tweets. I think that they would have been up higher. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's down. Maybe it's down lower or something. But dropping in source slot on wildcard is the only negative play listed. I don't think it's negative because you can't fix North American culture. You can't fix the fact that North Americans culturally are basically plagued. Doesn't mean that individual North American players cannot rise up and become insane players, because, you know, we've seen that in basically everything esports related. We've seen individual players rise up, but when you're talking about a team environment, you're much less likely to foster such things from occurring. Now, if you look at the span of esports over the last, like, 20-something odd years, the only time North America has ever dominated in an esport is when it's the esport that only North America predominantly plays and other regions don't play. So, culturally, you can't fix it. So, importing helps fix the cultural issue, because it means that the teams are drowned out with more people that are not North American in their cultural approach. Now, the problem ends up becoming when people come to North America and they have a North American mindset. So, if you take 4 Koreans and you put them in a team, and then there's one NA guy, Koreans probably aren't going to like the NA guy if he's fucking slacking off and they want to grind 24/7. So, that's one example of drowning out the work ethic and, like, other stuff that can go on there. If you get, you know, a couple of Europeans that come over and they're way more open-minded and they're way more diligent in any of their approaches to things, and they actually have higher standards, even if their work ethic might not be on the same page as the Koreans, at least they have a much different approach. Now, obviously, I'm speaking on my own experience spanning, I've been in esports 14 years, going on 15 years. Despite my age, I've been around for a very long time, and I've been around through many, many, many different titles. So I've seen how trading card game players are from various regions, North America, Europe, even Asia. I got to experience a lot of the Korean and Japanese and Chinese Magic the Gathering scene, when players would fly over to Korea and, like, do boot camps and stuff like that. I got to visit a card shop in Japan, and I got to see, you know, how the Magic stuff was going on there. Got to talk to a lot of Hearthstone players way back in the day. Got to talk to a lot of North American, European Hearthstone players, and all of the same traits were consistent across basically every single fucking game. It was the same thing in StarCraft 1, same thing in StarCraft 2, now it's the same thing in League of Legends, it was the same thing in Hearthstone, same things in Magic. Okay, it is a core fundamental problem that you are not going to whole-scalely fix. Now, the thing here is I saw some Reddit people say that this was told to me by someone else and that it was hearsay, right? And that me making a tweet like this should not be able to get the community as up in arms as it was because I'm just hearing it from someone else. No, jackass. I heard this directly from one of the teams that contacted me asking me to coach. I got asked if they ever did X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z included scrims with the academy teams and blitz games, basically playing with the academy team. And I got told that one of the main team players basically said he refused to scrim with the academy team because it would make the academy team player better. So it wasn't a fucking, this wasn't told to me through the grapevine. This was a horror story. And then obviously when I ask, like, why don't coaches fix stuff like this, I get told the coaches don't have enough, or I get told by this person, the coaches don't have enough control over the players. So obviously, like, that's another problem in itself. Now, here's the issue. Whenever I hear that coaches don't have control over the players, I'm in a little bit of a lapse. And I say this because I've dealt with and I've had very, very nice relationships with apparently some of the most non-agreeable people in the entire League of Legends fucking ecosphere. I've had only pleasant and, nice encounters with Forgiven. Obviously, I coached Malice. I, had Malice live with me. I've had, I guess there's other, like, notoriously negative or non-agreeable people behind the scenes that obviously I don't want to list, but people can probably infer who I'm talking about, that I've had only pleasant conversations with. And so I've never understood this notion that they're apparently hard to do things. Now, one of the things that I did notice with Malice, or, like, other people in general, is it seems like when someone says something to them that they can't defend, and they can't back up, they can't explain, they can't fucking do anything, just don't respect that person. So it is, it sounds more like, I've never engaged with someone that seems super adamantly just against people. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like this is something that happens just randomly or arbitrary. It seems really strange. Seems like there should always be a way to actually converse with someone and get them to agree to do things or try things at the very least. So I always found that really weird. But obviously, a lot of people don't have lots of experience in these jobs, and I think that's one of the problems. But then in addition to not having experience, they don't have experience at an elite level. Also, I want to add a caveat to this. Experience doesn't tell you anything, necessarily. Experience only tells you that someone has done the job. It doesn't tell you that they do it well or that they've done it well up until that point. This is one of the very dangerous problems when it comes to looking for new staff and looking for new players and all this other things. The amount of times that, I've heard the argument that, oh, this person has good results, we should get this person, they're clearly successful. No, conjecture, because you don't know how much they actually contributed to the results that they have on their resume. And unless they have, like, publicly available things that you can go off of and you can monitor, like, people in their orbit and type, things that are going on with them, becomes really hard to evaluate. Results are not the basis to ever evaluate anyone on unless they are grossly consistent at an extremely high tier, and then if that is the case, there's probably going to be orbit, or there's probably going to be, there's probably going to be fallout from people that, enter their, not fallout in a negative way. There's probably going to be, tidbits that come from people that enter in and out of their orbit and are able to actually, like, communicate things and yada yada yada. So, in that regard, I think it's nonsense. Now, North America, lots of issues, obviously. Yes, there's a lot of streamers, there's a lot of personalities. This is something that I remember talking about with a lot of European players back in 2014, 2015, 2016, because European pro players have a much more, well, historically they did. I don't think it's the case anymore because not a lot of NA pros, like, actively stream, and, like, streaming is not, like, a thing that I think that a lot of NA pros actually gain a lot of money from anymore, which is a pretty interesting debacle. But historically, Europeans would always have way smaller streams. And I'm talking about back in the day when LCS players used to be able to basically just stream and get a couple thousand viewers almost regardless of who they were or, like, what they were doing. Whereas a European pro, even if they were one of the top in the region, they would stream, they wouldn't actually get that many viewers. And then in addition to maybe not getting that many viewers, team deals weren't really in place, they didn't have a lot of subs, they couldn't actually make money on stream. So Europeans didn't really tend to focus on, like, branding and stuff. If you go through a lot of the LEC pro players on Twitter and stuff, you'll notice that a lot of them have dramatically lower follower counts and media engagement and everything. I remember one of the first things that I said to Crowny earlier this year is I said that his Twitter was a joke because he never used it. He didn't post anything. He didn't interact with people. He didn't stream. His social media following count was really, really, really low, and I told him that he needed to care about this if he was going to continue to have a career inside of esports, because even when the day might come that he decides that he doesn't want to be a player anymore, it doesn't mean that his career has to end. But if he wants that to be the case, he's going to need to start building up a bigger brand. So I was really adamant about Crowny using his Twitch more, his Twitter more. I was, telling him, he would ask me, like, should I tweet this or should I do stuff like this? And I care about branding a lot. Now, I'm a fucking cockroach in the scene. For basically the first 6-7 years of my career, from 2010 to like 2017 or something, I should not have been able to continue to grow and thrive the way that I did. So I like to consider myself the cockroach of League of Legends, because even when so many things should have killed my career or killed my brand and stuff like that, I always found ways, in my own opinion, to continue to thrive and survive and look at things that would help my career, and all this other stuff, so that, I could grow the way that I did. But anyways, so North America is really fucked in a lot of ways. The other thing is that a lot of players are very afraid to speak up if they don't have power. There's a lot of power struggles and power dynamics inside of North America. A lot of people that end up inside of strong positions inside various teams have no idea what the fuck they're doing. And what I mean by that is that they end up through they end up in those titled positions mostly either through nepotism or simply because the slots need to be filled and they simply apply for it. They have a better looking resume, but it's because there is no qualifications necessary in order to actually achieve these jobs. You don't need a degree, you don't need anything. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. So teams are kind of a mess where, obviously Diamond quote retweeted my tweet saying that the Cloud9 Academy did often scream with the main team. There's a lot of belief that obviously Academy team or LCS teams don't get any benefit from screaming from Academy, but that's because of poor coaching. And it's because of poor mindset, because you're not going to tell me that Bjergsen, who is forced to play on fucking 60-70 ping in North America and play with North America from 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and still be one of the best players in the world, is somehow not improving on his own accord and because of his own individual prowess and approach to things and his mindset. Now, by the way, there's also other really fucking weird things where North American fans are like, they're really strange when it comes to certain things. And if you're a North American, you're in my chat right now, and you feel like I'm talking about you, well, if the shoe fits, honey, wear it. I don't know. When I tweet that any teams are gonna lose and stuff, it's not because I give a shit. I don't have anything personally against these teams or players, man. Okay? I am predicting the best teams that I think that are going to win. I am not seeing good skill. I'm not seeing good play. I'm not seeing things that would make me predict them over other teams. Now, if this was play-ins, I would probably have NA slated to win a couple more games than maybe they're ever going to get in group stages, but that does not tend to be the case. So you want me to fucking lie because you have a perception about these teams and these players due to your own ignorance, because you only watch the North American region, you watch tidbits or maybe highlights of LEC, LCK, and LPL, and you have a very warped perception on what pro play is. You also have a very grossly inflated sense of fucking, I don't know, your own ability to perceive what's happening inside of the game. And so it leads you to believe that the players are actually closer to one another than they actually are, even though there's a very limited amount that can come out inside of these games. What I mean by that is, it's really strange. I got a DM this morning telling me that even if a player is bad, even if a player is bad, don't call them bad. Don't call them bad because it hurts their brands. What? What? But wait a minute, if they're bad and then they show improvement, I can then talk about how much they improved. Why do you think I'm only gonna say that they're bad and then nothing else? What? And then I asked the person to like justify their DM and stuff, and they really couldn't. They told me they couldn't really explain it. They just think it's really bad that I do this. Big name players like Bjerg, Double Lift, etc. make more streaming, so you have to pay them enough to play pro. Top imports like Core Someday, etc. had competitive offers from China. All of these factors drive up salary. There's a big difference. I can't really speak on this, but I don't think it's the case. Europeans take salary cuts to play with better players. I don't think this is the case all the time. Europeans take salary cuts to play with better players. Chovy turned down massive offer, right, to go to DRX, right? I think it's been reported, right, that like Faker turned down insane amounts of money in order to play. I think this is all like, I mean, in my case in specific, a player. I don't think I should talk about this. I don't think I can talk about this yet. There's something directly related to me that suggests that players are willing to allocate their salary to other people, basically. I agree with what Lena is saying. There's definitely going to be some players that are going to refuse to play over money, right? But that says more about the player than it does anything else. The players really want to play and they have a love of the game, they're going to play. I wish I could use myself as an example, but can't really.